We're mocking up here for our rear receiver that goes in there. So we've already completed the front end there. And what we did was we got this 1-inch square tubing to go along. I C-clamped it to the front, to the bottom there, and we got the level on, and then we want to make this level, and then we're going to true this side up here so everything's good. Not only do we use the level, but we're also going to measure in between from here to here to make sure that our measurements are equal on both ends, because even with that level, there will be a little bit of play where the bubble will still show level, but you'll still have a little bit of wiggle room there where it could be, you know, higher or lower. Right now we're just, it's kind of preliminary fit test here. If we have to do any kind of adjustments to our metal piece, we'll do that. So we're going to fit, measure, test, you know, go through this a few times until we're satisfied, until we do the final assembly. Here's a closer look down underneath. So we want to kind of true this thing up, get it level and square, maybe make some marks on the metal, some reference marks where it's going to get installed and stuff. We're going to be looking at what we want for clearances in here and there. And as you can see, this comes out past, which is good because it's helping with our setup. I didn't do that in the front, and I probably could have, should have, but it's a work in progress here. We're going to be welding it on the 90 here, and we're going to be welding it on the bottom of the floor and then on the frame, and those are our connection points. There ends up being too much space in here to bring that material up above and have a connection point in here like we did in the front, so we're not going to have one there. Other than that, everything looks like it'll be good. There's no reason why once we tack it here and we have it all tacked up in there that it'll be good. We shouldn't have any worries. So when I built this, I bent the metal out to make this lip, and that lip would be where we kind of fasten it to the metal there. Didn't work there, had to do a trim job right off the bat as we're fitting this thing in. So the lip is gone there. I'm thinking that it's gonna end up getting removed altogether, because once we fit this thing in, we won't, instead of a lip, we're gonna have a gap, just like we did in the front, and then we're gonna tack and weld everything into place. Here's a look at the front. And so what we'll do for the vertical is we're gonna be shifting this side to side to get our vertical square. Once we've achieved our spot and put our reference marks in for location and fit test, that's when we're going to be putting our square tube in here with our shims like we had in the front, so that when we do finish weld this thing into place, this isn't gonna like tighten up or we have any problems that way where we wouldn't be able to fit our square tube into the sleeve there. We've got this one here which is level, but we want the same distance from the top edge of the 90 down to the bottom of our square tube, front and back. So that's the important part, is that this needs to match the front. So the measurement is more important than the bubble on the level, but it shows that we're level, it's just not dead on. Okay, so that's the same thing with this level and that level back there. So we've got all our levels on, we've got the bubbles in the center, but they're not dead on, and we can't, you just fight yourself too much to try and make it exactly perfect, right? So there's our compromise. We get everything true. We've got our 90-degree magnets, one there. We've got another one on this side over here, and that's to try and hold everything true and square. And then we're just gonna throw in a couple tacks here and there just to start with. And then we leave the levels on because we wanna see, after we put the tacks in, if anything's distorted or changed or shifted or whatever, right? And then if everything's good, we'll just plug in a few more tacks. We'll just keep doing that until we're satisfied. And after we put in some more tacks, we can take all our hardware off here, and then we can look at seam welding everything. The rest of the setup, as I mentioned before, we've got some scrap metal in here, and the intended purpose for that is for clearance. So when we're doing all of our welding, we want this to be true from the bottom to the top, so that sleeve is true all the way through, and we don't want it to distort or shrink when we're welding, so then we can't fit our square tube into the sleeve. We have that in there as a precaution to help true everything up. And I've got a C-clamp holding the center of that. We've got this square tubing clamp from the front, and then we just have it resting here on this side, and we just have this resting on the bottom of that. And that's how we're going to make it level from that one to this one. After seam welding our rear receiver in here, we've got that all welded in. I want to fill in this hole here. So as always, I just use a piece of cardboard. I shape it until I get what I need to fill in that space. We're going to attach it here, and then on this side here. So this is the bottom, goes there. This is the side that goes to there. If we look at it from here, that metal will be about approximately in here. And then that leaves us lots of room in here for when we want to cut this down. We'll have this come down and transition nice to the square tubing that's going to get bolted on here. But we're going to wait until we get our square tubing on here before we do that. So then it's all on there, and then we can do it all at the same time. And here's a look from underneath here where we're going to be tacking this into place. So this tacks up against here. So we'll just be putting some tacks in and get that in there, and we want to kind of seal all this up. Here's that patch welded in there. We went along, we seam weld everything because we want to make an effort to seal it all off, so all the mud and snow and water and all that stuff isn't going to get back in there and rot everything out again.